Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're going to have a look at part of the Arab-Israeli War, 1948, what I'm calling the Southern Front. There's quite a lot to all of this, and so I'm still sort of quite exploring things. And this proceeds, this follows the Operation Nashon, which was sort of before the open conflict. Essentially there was a mandate, and part of Palestine was given to the Arabs and part was given to the Israelis, and before the British, who were controlling the mandate, left, they were sort of pretty much at each other's throats, and as they left, essentially the Arab League, which constituted of basically Egypt, look at the Wikipedia, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, the 5 Arab states: Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon and Iraq. They basically invaded from all sorts of different places. The Southern Front was by Egypt. At the same time there was quite a lot going on around here. There was a push here, so this doesn't cover that. Essentially you can already see that this is the tallest map I do at the moment, and it doesn't really get in the full height of Israel. So if I was to expand it to include the top bit, I could probably get the whole thing in a squeeze. It's just I'm trying to sort of do it bit by bit so that I maybe understand it. It's quite complex, which is one of the reasons I've avoided all of these Israeli conflicts, because they're just complicated. It seems to be getting a little clearer, but essentially the Egyptians come along through here, and on Wikipedia so I can synchronise. So on the 15th of May 1948 they attack Nirim. Let's go into play mode. Let me adjust my screen. So on the 15th of May they attack Nirim, which is there. The Egyptians met fierce resistance from a few lightly armed defenders of both settlements. That's Nirim and Kafar Darom, which is there. In here they had some anti-tank units, which I've put in this one. It should be in the other one. Oh well, doesn't matter. And essentially the sort of story is the same. They sort of head up this way, and then they get stuck here at Isdad. And apparently there was nothing to stop them going from Isdad through to Tel Aviv once they got there. And so one of the difficulties with this game is that it's quite hard to replicate the sort of stoic defence that the Israelis put up against the Egyptians, because basically they were sort of confounded at every stage, and they stopped here, and after then it was a bit of a stalemate. I haven't really got much further, but basically, I mean, the Israelis won the war, so this is just the initial southern invasion by the Egyptian forces. As I said, there was still a lot going along here from the sort of Iraqi side and Lebanon and all that. So I'm contemplating, when I've gone through them all, putting one huge scenario together, but I'm not so sure about that. One of the things is it's quite hard to sort of replicate the long-term flow of historic events over sort of a campaign type game, because things just take completely different courses. One of the other things that they did, they came up through to take Beersheba, and that was really sort of protect their flanks, and they had similar problems there. When they got up to from 29th of May to 3rd of June, the Israeli forces stopped the Egyptian drive north in Operation Pleshet. In the first combat mission performed by Israeli's fledgling Air Force 4 Avia S-199s, which are well, we haven't got them yet because we're looking at the Egyptian forces. It's interesting to note that the Egyptians are using Spitfires and C-47s. This is, they're driving around in Matilda tanks and Bren carriers. It's all sort of stuff they've got from the British. It's all sort of ex-Second World War stock. So we're really sort of going back. I mean, obviously, 48, it's only 3 years after the Second World War, so it's not surprising. But it's still interesting to know that it's still very much a sort of World War II type, technologically based engagement. But yeah, so Operation Pleshnet, I'm pretty sure I've got this sort of incorporated. Israeli forces stopped the Egyptian drive in the first combat mission performed by their S-199s. They attacked an Egyptian armoured column of 500 vehicles on its way to Isdad. So that's between here, presumably, and here. So about here. Because this is not a very big map, I mean, I could have maybe squeezed the whole thing up into there. And that might have given us more space, scaling the map up. But it's only once I got to this stage where I can see what's what that it makes sense to me. So that's sort of around here. They use their Avia S-199s to essentially hold up this 500 vehicle convoy. They dropped 70-kilogram bombs and strafed the column. The machine guns jammed quickly. 2 of the planes were brought down. 2 of the planes crashed, killing a pilot. But the attack caused the Egyptians to scatter, as they had lost the initiative by the time they had regrouped. Following the attack, the Israeli forces constantly bombarded the Egyptian forces in Isdad with Napoleon-Chick cannons, which I don't actually have at the moment. Wait there. Okay, so I have now just gone back and put in the Napoleon-Chick artillery companies. I put in 4, but they don't arrive until turn 5. The Israeli Avia should really arrive a little later as well, which, as you can see, they now do. Turn 4. I'm not going to do any more edits now. I'm not sure how the balance works, so we go into the sort of play mode. So essentially, they pour across the border to take out these 2 units, two positions, one before the other. 1 minute, one little minute. 1p. Yeah, as I was saying, the anti-tank unit is in Kfar Darom. So let's just have a peek at what's what. Now I get the feeling it's going to be pretty easy. Now the Egyptians had 5 battalions, so what I haven't been doing there is putting them into the right orders. This is the 2nd battalion, so I'll put the 2nd battalion in there. There's another 2nd battalion, and this is the 3rd battalion. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put 1 onto 1 with 2 lots of artillery in support. So I'm only going to do this stack here. Fourth, 2nd. There's 3 in each. Okay, I'm going to use 2 artillery. See what happens. 1 to 1 and an exchange. Now that's interesting. So I've given all these positions, fortifications, just to sort of give it a little more historic perspective. And obviously, the thing is, they were actually defending towns, and these are not towns; they're not sort of light urban or dense urban. So the fortifications is really to reflect the towns. But there was one company in there against 5. Now, obviously, I've given the Israelis a little stronger units, although they were actually technically a lot smaller. That's just to represent their strength, their effectiveness historically. So in that instance, it was an exchange. Let's just see. So that was a 1-to-1, and they actually got a fairly good dice roll. If they got 1 lower, that would have been a some kind of defender retreat. The spread was probably going to be an exchange, but they could have rolled badly. So that's quite interesting. The first battle went historically. So let's see what happens here. Hang on. There only appears to be 1 armoured unit. Okay, I realise why that's happened. I've put the wrong coordinates in. It's too late for this game. But there should be some armour in here. Okay. So let's see what we can do here. One to 3. That's wrong. I wonder why it's 1 to 3. Because the anti-tank probably got a heavy multiplier, which it shouldn't have. Well, they retreated from there, which wasn't ahistoric. But I'm not happy with that because the odds were wrong. So I'm going to pause it for a bit. Okay, I've figured that problem out, and I think I've resolved it. But I'm not so sure that I can do much unless I can quickly do another attack, which I might try just for the hell of it. So end turn. So it's now the Israelis' turn, and the Givati Brigade shouldn't really be on yet, but they're sort of there, so we can maybe start moving them forward. But just to sort of maybe replicate that, I'm going to now essentially what happened last time, it counted that it thought basically there's a logical error in the code, and it thought that this was against some mechanized units, and so it upped it to 5 defense. So that would have been 5, 6, 7, 8 times 3, 8, 16, 24, which is what his defense factor was. So he shouldn't be on that now. So he should be on 4, 12 defense factor now. But he is a little... No, they've recovered, so let's see. Yeah, so they're back down to their proper factor of 12, but because they had because they had depressions, they were less, and so that's quite interesting. Anyway, I'll see you later.